Welcome to another time of godly play, a chance for us to settle down and hear a story and wonder together. Maybe even to play hide and seek with that mysterious presence of God that continues to want to call us by name and come close to us, even when we forget. So I wonder what you need to help you be ready to enter into the circle today. It's been another week of changes. But we are resilient people, and the stories we share with one another remind us that we have generations of people who have dealt with difficult times, who have come in and out of the desert, and who have discovered that God continues to lead and to guide them. So, take a deep breath. And when you're ready, come on in and find a spot in the circle. One of the things that helps me get settled and ready to be with you all sometimes is to sing a song. And you might know the words to this song. It's called Like a Rock, Like a Rock. And the actions are like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like a river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore. And this is what it sounds like. I'll sing it through twice and then we'll do it once with just the actions and no singing. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like a river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore. Join in. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like a river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore. Thank you. We remember the one who's coming into this world is as light in the darkness. And we remember that no matter where we are, the light finds us and we can come close to the light. I'm going to put the light back on the shelf and get everything ready for our story. You might think what materials you might like to work with, or maybe you just won't know that until we get closer to the response time. Wow, it's good to be back in the room. Have you ever had one of those days where it just seems to, doesn't matter what you touch, it breaks or it doesn't work, or somebody gets mad or doesn't show up? Well, today is one of those days for me. So I will do my best, though, to be present. Sometimes I use all those little bumps and crunches to remind me that I need to spend more time with God. To be a little less worried about everything else and a little more focused on what I'm doing in the moment. I wonder what helps you get re-centered when things don't go exactly as planned. There's a lot going on around us over which we have very little control. And some people are just fine and swimming through that. And others are finding, it's hard work. But the stories that we share help us build that capacity for resilience, that ability to take whatever comes and roll with it or deal with it or survive it and get through it somehow. Trusting that God is always there. It's a lesson that the people of God wrestled with throughout that long journey through the desert. We've been following them all along as they came through the waters into freedom and had to learn what the best ways were to live together. They thought about what they needed in order to come close to God. And last week we heard the story of the ark and the tent. And today's story is called The Ark and the Temple. And it is a story written by Godly Play, and so copyright protected but used with permission. And it is a time when the people are moving into the promised land. Are you ready? Well, the people of God have come into the promised land. And when David became king, he gathered all the people of God from the north and from the south into one group. He took the city of Jerusalem from the Jebusite people and called it the city of David. And he and the people of God began to live in the city. But something was missing. It was the ark. So King David and the people went to get the ark. And when they carried it back through the city gate, King David danced before it. And he set up the tent of meeting, and he put the ark inside. David wasn't allowed to build a house for God because he was a man of war. His son, Solomon, would build the temple when he became king. Actually, all of the people helped to build the temple. Some people went to the north to cut down the large cedar trees of Lebanon and bring them back. Some people went to the mountains to cut stone. And others began to cut the wood and prepare the stone to begin. As the temple grew, the people were amazed. There was a great hall where the people could come close to God. And there was an inner room called the Holy of Holies, which was for the ark. Only the high priest went into the Holy of Holies on the Day of Atonement, which was the holiest day of the year. The temple was beautiful, with carvings of olive wood and gold. And the great planks of cedar smelled wonderful. The priests brought the ark into the temple and put it in the Holy of Holies. Inside the temple were all the things that had helped the people of God get ready while they were in the desert. There was the altar of incense, that filled the temple with clouds of fragrant smoke when it was burning. There was the table for the bread of presence, 1 loaf for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And there was the menorah, with its 7 branches and lamps burning. When the priests carried the ark into the temple was filled with a dazzling cloud of light, and the people knew that God's presence was here. In front of the temple was the great altar for sacrifices, just as it had been in front of the tent, only this one was much larger. And the same was true for the laver, the great basin of water. When everything was ready, Solomon called all of the people together, and he offered a prayer to God. O Lord God of Israel, there is none like you in the heavens or on the highest earth, keeping covenant and showing steadfast love to your servants who follow you with all their heart. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heavens and highest heavens cannot contain you, how much less this house that I have built. But give regard to your servant and to this supplication. Solomon asked God to allow God's name to dwell in the temple and to let it become a place where people could come to pray and find justice. Solomon ruled well and wisely. Some people said he was perhaps even the wisest person on earth. His father, David, had been famous for his war and his psalms, but Solomon was famous for his wise sayings and for the temple. After 40 years of being king, Solomon died and was buried in Jerusalem with his father, David. And Solomon's son became king. I wonder what part of this story you liked best. You might want to pause the video and have some conversation with those around you. Or you might like to just listen to all the questions and then stop the video and do some thinking. You'll know what works best for you. I wonder what part of this story is most important. I wonder if there's any part of this story that we could leave out and still have all the story that we need. I wonder what part of this story is especially for you today, or where you are in this story. If you go back to Jerusalem today, Solomon's temple is gone. It was destroyed by the Babylonians when they took the people into exile. It was rebuilt and destroyed again, and then rebuilt again around the time of Jesus by King Herod. And then around 70 CE, it was destroyed by the Roman army. And now there are only bits and pieces left of that temple. I wonder if the temple is gone and no one knows where the ark is, I wonder where the 10 best ways live. I wonder where you go to pray. Have you been taking any time for that? Just to have a conversation with God? I like to pray in lots of different places. One of my favorite places is on my couch at home, in the dark, first thing in the morning. And I take some intentional time then to be still. But I catch myself throughout the day saying all kinds of prayers. Thank you for this happening, or, oh, God, help me with this. I don't quite get it. And I don't always find that the prayer changes the outcome, but it does change how I am in the midst of that situation. I wonder where you go to find justice. That's not an easy word to talk about or to understand or to live. We learn as we grow up that we are supposed to be fair, but we soon discover that the world isn't really fair. And we don't always get what we deserve, which is both a good thing and a not so good thing. The older we get, the more we discover that our legal system, the laws that protect the land and property, aren't always about justice. I wonder what some of the best ways might be to ensure a more fair life, not just for some of us, but for all of us, and for the creatures of God's earth, and for the earth itself. Oof. Those are very big questions. I think I need to just take some time to work with them. So you can choose whatever art materials you might have handy or what you would like to work with in response to this story. When I was looking around the Godly Playroom this morning, and perhaps because it is about that building something, I found the box of blocks. And the things that we can build when we use our imagination and the materials at hand. And yesterday, I built something in our backyard to keep something safe for the winter, because I knew it was going to snow. Sometimes we build things our whole life. And then something changes. And that which we have spent building no longer seems to make sense. And everything comes tumbling down. It was a fun game when we were little. Remember, you'd stack the blocks up and knock them over. And there's still something to be said for doing that and the energy that's released when we play. I wonder what you will build with your imagination. I wonder where you find the courage to keep building, even when things fall apart. So sometimes when we are done our response, we offer a prayer and we share a feast. I wonder with whom you will get to feast this week. Perhaps we could use that prayer that Aaron used to bless the people. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God's favor rest upon you and grant you peace. Amen. I don't seem to have anything for feast today, so I'll invite you to watch what happens when I change the light. Right now, the light is only in this one place. But I am so grateful it is here and that we can be together whenever we share the light. Watch what happens when we change it, so that it can spread out and fill this room and connect us to one another and to the holy. God bless. Be well. And look after one another until we meet again.